NFL Insider reports the Chicago Bears are frontrunners to steal this rival's star player. Hello everyone, I'm Andy here with Chicago Bears React, bringing you all the Chicago Bears news you seek during the season and here in the off season. Before we dive into today's story, please take a moment, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and make sure you don't miss a thing. We're going to be covering all of the exciting news coming out this off season, including free agency, NFL Combine, NFL Draft, and beyond. So for today's story, we're going to be looking at a report that came out from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, who is reporting that Danielle Hunter is seeing a very active early market already, and he noted specifically the Chicago Bears are very high on Hunter as they look for a pass rusher to complement Montez Sweat. Danielle Hunter, for those of you who have been living under a rock, has played his entire career with the Minnesota Vikings. He has been an immensely productive pass rusher for them. If we take a look at his stats, he has an 8-year career thus far. Only 3 years of that did he not break double-digit sacks, and the first was his rookie season, and the most recent one was a year that was the 1 year he was hurt, 2021, when he only had 7 games, and he still notched 6 sacks. And so you look at that and you say, this is somebody who has produced sacks time and time again. This past year was his best total, 16.5 sacks. And so this is a player who has been effective. He has been really a terror for opposing teams' offensive lines and quarterback. And so, this is a pretty exciting potential development. I think if you take a look as is noted here, you combine the sack totals for Danielle Hunter and Montez Sweat in 2023. That's 29 sacks. My God, 29 sacks. If you can imagine pairing those two guys together, and as was mentioned in the tweet, coupled with the incredible secondary, that great linebacker core, I don't know if you're going to have too many holes in that defense. It really at that point would come down to, do we see that second year leap from Gervon Dexter? Really, like that would be it. And so this is exciting for a number of reasons. One thing we've covered already in this offseason is the fact that the Bears, as they're currently sitting, don't have a second round pick. They're going to take a quarterback number one. That there's so much smoke there. There has to be fire. They're taking a quarterback. I don't care if you believe it's decided it's Caleb Williams or not. It's going to happen, which means the Bears have one other pick before the third round as it stands right now. And they need a wide receiver, they need a defensive end, and they need a center. And so those are 3 positions that likely the starting caliber players you're going to get in the draft are all going to be gone by the time you get to the third round. And so if you could take defensive end off the board, which is probably the hardest one to find, if we're being honest, that's probably the one position you can't afford to trade back from number 9 and still hope to get your guy, because there's only ever, a couple defensive ends like that available in a draft. Now the Bears all of a sudden could trade Fields, get a second-round pick out of that, and use number 9 to get a wide receiver and that second round to get your center. And now you have fixed your holes. That'd be incredible. So, the real question here is, what's it going to cost? And so, it was suggested. Let's not look at this one. Let's look at it was suggested by Christopher Knox, Bleacher Report, that Hunter would probably be looking at a 4-year deal worth $110 million. That's a lot of cash. And so, one of the things, before Bears fans get too excited, because yes, it's exciting, the thought of let's bring in let's steal a rival's best defensive player who got 16.5 sacks and pair him with Montez Sweat. But $110 million, that's a lot of money. So now you're talking about spending over $25 million a year on this player. The Bears are probably going to have somewhere around $60 million in cap space, maybe a little more than that, depending on the cap casualties that come out. But they've got other holes they got to fill. You can't just spend all of that on on one player. And so, you've got to feel really good about spending that, because you're not just spending it this year, you're spending it next year, you're spending it the year after that and the year after that. And so you're really strapping, between him and Montez, all of a sudden now you've got two really expensive players, and you still got to pay Jalen Johnson. And so, in this world, all of a sudden it's like, all right, if you spend 25 on Danielle Hunter and you spend another 20 on Jalen Johnson, you're kind of in cap purgatory at that point, because everything else you're going to have to spend on rookies, and other people have to get paid too. And so, I look at that and I say, yes, do the Bears have decent cap space right now? They do, but that's a scary proposition to immediately spend so much of it on this player. It's also a little frightening because he turns 30 in October, and so you're investing that in somebody who is now still at an age where they can produce, but you would have to be at least a little bit concerned that all of a sudden you're going to start seeing a little bit of a decline. And so are you really getting that 16.5 sack per year guy, or are you going to get somebody who's going to be more in that 11-12 range? Still really good. That's where Montez Sweat was. I'd be thrilled. It'd be a huge upgrade. But is that an upgrade worth $25 million a year? TBD. And so... And for those of you who are kind of wondering, why is he available? Why on earth wouldn't the Vikings do everything they can to keep him? Why wouldn't they use the franchise tag? Well, they can't. Because they restructured his contract, they gave him a 1-year deal last season, they're actually not allowed to give him the franchise tag. And so now, as Kevin Seifert notes here, they can't use the franchise tag, and they're going to be negotiating with him coming off of a huge season. And even though he has stated, you see this quote here, I'd love to be here. I've been here my whole career. At the end of the day, money talks, and this is somebody who this is his last chance to make money, realistically. And so it'll be an interesting option. I'm a bit torn right now on if I think this is a good move or not. I think in some ways you might be able to do better, but at the same time, it is pretty exciting to think about if you could all of a sudden keep Jalen Johnson, bring in Danielle Hunter. Teams would be pick your poison. What are you doing against that defense? There's going to be a lot of sacks. There's going to be a lot of picks because of that defense. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments if you think the Bears should move heaven and earth to try to get Danielle Hunter, or if you think they'd be better off kind of splitting up that $25 million-ish and trying to get a handful of players that you can rotate in. What do you think is the best route? So as always, thanks so much for watching, and bear down.